All right, if you're gearing up for your GS2 paper, understanding India's maritime diplomacy is absolutely essential. So today, we're going to break down a perfect case study, the 9th Indian Ocean Conference. This whole event, which happened amidst some serious global tension, is really a masterclass in how India is navigating the very turbulent waters of international relations.
So here's our game plan. We're going to kick things off with the context, an ocean in turmoil. Then, we'll dive deep into India's principled response, and also hear what other regional voices had to say. After that, we'll look at the crucial diplomacy that happens on the sidelines before we wrap it all up with the most important part for you, the strategic takeaways. Let's get right into it.
First things first, we've got to understand this setting. You see, this conference didn't just happen in a bubble. No, it unfolded against a backdrop of major disruptions to global shipping and trade, with the conflict in West Asia casting this long, dark shadow over the entire event. And here you can see India's External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, meeting with leaders from all across the region. The gravity of the situation was just so clear. In fact, many delegates actually had to cancel their attendance because of travel disruptions caused by the conflict, which really just underscores how high the stakes were for these talks. And this brings us to the central question that everybody there was grappling with. I mean, with these vital sea lanes and global supply chains under so much pressure, what does the future actually hold for the security and stability of the Indian Ocean region, or the IOR, as we call it? So, in the midst of all this chaos, how did India, as a leading regional power, respond? Well, New Delhi's answer was a very clear, very principled stance. This quote from Minister Jaishankar really gets right to the heart of India's message. It's this strong, unambiguous call for sticking to international law and humanitarian principles. It really positions India as a voice of reason and, importantly, stability in the region. But look, India's approach was multifaceted. It wasn't just about naval security. It was about the economic well-being of the entire Indian Ocean region. New Delhi was really concerned about the wider implications for things like energy, trade, and even fertilizer costs. Issues that directly affect every single nation that was present. But of course, India wasn't the only voice in the room. The conference was a platform for a whole range of regional perspectives, and let me tell you, they were not all on the same page. And this is where you can really see the diplomatic complexity. It was on full display. Oman's foreign minister, for example, delivered some pretty strong criticisms, warning against the region becoming a theater of zero-sum competition. And then you had Bangladesh, which focused more inward, calling for the revival of regional bodies like SAARC for collective action. Navigating all this divergence is, you guessed it, a central challenge for India. So this situation we're talking about, this state of flux and competition, there's a term for it in international relations: geopolitical churn. And for your GS2 papers, this is an absolutely crucial term. It really captures the essence of this period of instability and competition, which is exactly the environment that India is trying to manage in the Indian Ocean. Beyond the formal speeches and the big declarations, some of the most important work at these conferences happens in those one-on-one meetings. And India was particularly active here, really using the conference as a platform for some robust bilateral diplomacy. As you can see, Minister Jaishankar held a whole series of crucial bilateral meetings, especially with his counterparts from key neighboring and Gulf countries. This really showcases India's strategy. When a big, broad regional agreement is tough to get, you focus on reinforcing individual partnerships to build consensus one conversation at a time. But sometimes the most telling detail is who isn't in the room. And here, what was really notable was that no delegate from the Maldives attended. Now that absence, it speaks volumes about the current diplomatic tensions between the two nations, highlighting a pretty significant challenge right in India's maritime neighborhood. Okay, so let's put it all together. What does all of this actually mean for India's foreign policy? Let's distill this down into the key takeaways that are directly relevant for your IR analysis. This slide lays out India's strategic playbook, plain and simple. First, you champion a rules-based order. Second, you have to skillfully navigate all those competing interests of your regional partners. Third, you use that bilateral diplomacy to build trust wherever you can. And finally, you combine all these efforts to position India as a net security provider and the key stabilizing force in the Indian Ocean. So we'll end with this question for you to really think about. As this geopolitical churn continues, the central challenge for India is still this: Can its principled, proactive diplomacy help steer the Indian Ocean away from becoming a zone of great power competition and push it towards a future of genuine cooperation? That right there, that is the ultimate test.